Hello, good morning and welcome to our latest Bristol Life event designed to help you in your business. Today's session is with Blackstar Solutions and it includes a special appearance by one of their major clients, Bristol Sport Ashengate Stadium, to give a client's perspective. We'll be discussing remote working, its technology requirements, its cultural impacts on teams and companies, and what this extraordinary year. How will we all work differently going forwards? What do we need to look to in our business practices and to anticipate? What practical advice on technology strategy do you need for your business right now? Please do ask any question and we'll seek useful perspectives for you. Please send your questions using the Q&A button below. You can ask anonymously or as named if you wish. By the way, do add your company name to your question so that we absolutely know who you are, so we give you a name check if you wish that. Note, of course, our today's business surgery once more is being recorded. It'll be available on our Bristol Life YouTube channel later this afternoon. You'll find all our sessions on there, by the way. We'll hope you find them useful and helpful. They're also a chronicle of these very strange times. A few notes from us, from Bristol Life, before we get going. We've got a very busy few weeks ahead. Coming prior to the great reset we're all going to be experiencing this year, because better times really are around the corner, however long that corner may take us to go around. Look out for our next Bristol Life Business Surgery on Feb 22nd at midday. That's with Western College on training, learning and partnering. There's one the following week on March 1st. It's a different type of business surgery with Bevan Britain. It'll be across several of its disciplines, including, but not limited to, as lawyers often assert, dispute resolution, such as the big insurance claims story, which broke recently, employment, HR, corporate and commercial issues, property, and so on. Beyond those two, we'll also be running a session with DataSharp about integrated business communications. More immediately, just under 2 weeks, it's 1 week this Friday, on February the 15th, that's the Bristol Life Business Club on Feb 15th. That is 2 weeks away, and that's on health and well-being. The clubs, whether virtually or in real life, and however long it takes to get there, are sponsored by Bevan Britain. And these Bristol Life Business Surgeries are bespoke deep dive sessions showcasing companies' expertise from any sector through discussion. Please talk to us about how you might be involved. We can all do with advice, and of course everyone always wishes to drum up new business. Awards, I mentioned a week on Friday. That is February the 12th, and that is the Bristol Property Awards at the Bristol Property Symposium. At the risk of sounding a bit like perhaps an agent, it's a rare opportunity for professional service companies to network, build relationships, and start to refill the business pipeline this year at our 3-stage symposium. High-level insights, celebration of excellence in the awards, and a unique way of networking. It'll be the biggest gathering of professional services companies since before the pandemic. Keynote is provided by Savills Head of Resi Research nationally, Lucian Cook. We've commissioned Lucian specially to give insights on some of the continuing trends from 2020, and more particularly the forecast for 2021, valuations, transaction levels, given the pandemic, Brexit, stamp duty effect, working from home, which obviously we're talking about today a lot, and much more. It'll be a really fascinating event. Tickets are available via our property website. Sponsors, I'll spare you the full roster of 22 sponsors additional to our headline sponsor. It's a great opportunity for those companies to share what they're doing, to meet you as other professional services companies. And we're delighted, particularly led from the front by Smith & Williamson, our headline sponsor. Bristol Life Awards, the other week, we lose track of time. The other week we had a very special launch event, and we announced that our 2021 awards will be held on the 16th of September. There's value in certainty. We're putting them right back to September the 16th. If you did miss that launch event, it's on YouTube, the Bristol Life Awards launch event. Those sponsors include, let's quick run through the roster. Marsh Commercial as headline sponsors, plus Anderson Financial Management, British Corner Shop, Brunel Insurance Brokers, Burston Cook, CMC Marquees, Curo, SLX, Spaces, Triangle Networks, VWV, and Bristol Life, of course. There's an extra piece of news just on that front. A big virtual drum roll and a big clap welcome to our new sponsor, Thatcher's. We're absolutely delighted with this. It's a significant endorsement from Thatcher's as a major brand with deep local roots. And it indicates, we hope, that momentum is truly building on the awards. They'll be very timely this year. If you're an ambitious company and are proud to be a great Bristol company, or possibly want to signal support to other Bristol companies after this year of all years, please do talk to us. You'll be in good company if so. Noms are open now, by the way, and will be open for several weeks. Last up, right at the centre, the most important in many ways, is, of course, Bristol Life itself. Thank you for your support for Bristol Life. It's clear that many companies, through all our conversations, are gearing up for those better times ahead for us all, getting match fit now, ready to capitalise on the opportunities ahead of the Great Reset. It's why we're being so busy, because we strongly think that hope is not a strategy. We've all just got to get active. Please do talk to us, if helpful, about how we can help promote what you're doing. Right, to business, the business surgery. Let's go. Please ask those questions. The earlier you get them through, the more chances we have to include them. We'll be hearing from Mark Kelly, the MD of Bristol Sports Stroke Ashton Gate Stadium shortly. Let's bring forward our experts from Blackstar Solutions now. That's Elliot Mace and Nick Smith. Nick and Elliot, you're there.
Hi.
Isn't it comforting that the technology works for you of all businesses? That was somewhat ironic. Very much fingers crossed. How are you doing this morning? Let me, in fact, prior to saying, I'm just going to give you a quick run through of each of your bios, so you know. Nick is the CEO of Blackstar, very much the driving force, making it what it is as a communications company. Aims to be forward-thinking, innovative, service-driven. We'll be exploring a number of those points. Of course, the right people in the right roles, and it'll be interesting to talk about recruitment as well in this time, and removing barriers to help people do their very best. Elliot, you've got a fantastic job title, head innovation and technical solution portfolio development. I had to write that one down. It's a complex title, vital role, responsible for driving the use of innovative communications technology solutions to solve the business challenges of Blackstar's existing and new client base. We'll be talking quite a lot about your clients and reflecting, of course, ever-changing technology. How are you both doing?
Good, thank you.
Good,
right.
Thank you very much. Plenty of coffee, so good to go.
Good to go. Well, you're complete habitués, I'm sure, of the Zoom world. So much of your world probably already was revolving around Zoom and Teams, even more so in recent times. We'll come on to your clients and your work, especially, as I say, with Bristol Sport. But let's talk about Blackstar. Perhaps Nick, give us the elevator pitch. What do you do? Why do you do it?
So we develop, build, manage, install and support business telecoms and data solutions for clients, effectively allowing clients to collaborate better in more efficient ways, both internally with their teams and with their clients externally.
You must have had a pretty busy last 10 months, and I suspect an especially busy or hard to interpret first few months, like April, May, June time, where people going, oh my God, what do we do? People beating a path to your door?
Yeah, it was really unusual. I mean, we focused very much on our existing clients, first of all, to get them all remote working. For us internally as a team, it was very easy. It was kind of pick up your laptops, go home and start work. So the only difference was we've had a few people come in and collect screens and chairs, but in terms of communication and collaboration, it was business as usual because we kind of practice what we preach. It was very much we had everything ready to go. So for us, it was nice and it was simple, and then it was just making sure all of our clients were enabled to do what they needed to do as efficiently as possible.
So just to make sure that I think 50 or so who've registered this, we're watching it, and several hundred subsequently on YouTube, just so that we understand, what does Blackstar do? What's the sort of outermost of what you do, and what's the bits that you don't do? Where do you end, basically?
We kind of end where the clients tell us to, because we kind of offer the full service of everything from the whiteboarding of what they're looking to achieve initially, what they have in place at the moment, what we can offer them that will help them communicate and deliver solutions better. Then we go about the design of that with our pre-sales guys, the engineering team and the sales guys. Then we install it for them or provide the correct solution. And then it's making sure it's up and running. And then it's the ongoing support of that, providing them with new innovations as things come to market. It's making sure that we're offering something new, so they're always informed, as opposed to kind of being reactive. We're very proactive, which is quite unusual in our industry. I think lots of people who do what we do kind of sit back and wait for things to happen, whereas we like to be near the bleeding edge of everything.
If ever there were a time to be proactive rather than reactive, I suspect it's for all businesses right now. If we all just sit back and wait, you know what, nothing's going to happen, is it? Hence, we're approaching this, as I say, as this sort of great reset approach. But I want to take you and Elliot back to April, May time. You took the decision to effectively stop selling, which sounds a bit counterintuitive, at least outbound selling, because you were focused on service. Let's talk through that decision. And clearly you had a huge amount of inbounds, but you weren't proactively looking for new business at that point. Why so?
Elliot, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sorry, I was going to let you do it all, Nick. Yeah, so I think it just, at the time, it was just such a seismic thing and a seismic change to everyone's lives, and kids not able to go to school and all that kind of stuff that obviously we all know went on, that we just felt it wasn't right to start with. It wasn't right to be ringing people, cold calling and trying to sell things that they potentially didn't want or didn't know that they wanted. And I think the other side of things was, obviously, as you've mentioned, we had a lot of inquiries from our existing customer base, and our account managers, and salespeople effectively needed to focus on those and making sure that those customers who hadn't necessarily heeded the advice of the last 5 years actually did heed it. They came along, and we had our engineering team were working flat out for at least a month, just getting customers connected to be able to work from home. So it felt that that was what we needed to focus on. And I think we also felt that, there's one or two companies out there, and I won't name any names, but they're all household brands that took advantage of the situation to profit from their customers rather than trying to help them. And I'm sure everyone on the call has probably got their own experience of that. And that's not what we're about at Blackstar. And we took that kind of conscious decision to not be that kind of company, to seem to be profiting from obviously the whole pandemic. So it was a few reasons, but those outlined.
I think that that latter point is a very, dare I say, it's a very Bristol trait, that companies have been incredibly supportive during this time. And of course, there's always, outliers and rogues or whatever, but not many. The vast majority have been very thoughtful. And some of the conversation we'll be having with Mark at Ashley Gate and Bristol Sport will be exactly in that area, the work that they've been doing. There's a phrase which we try to bear in mind, which is, by your actions now, will you be judged later? And it's all about, I guess, from your point of view, the longer term brand value. Is that how you see it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, absolutely. And we trade very much on our integrity and a bit being about business partnerships. And we're not a supplier who turns up to give you a quote once every 3 years. And I think you mentioned a strategy, Greg, for this reset that we're all looking forward to. And for us, it's about working with our clients on a strategy to get them to where they want to be. And obviously, that strategy for many has not necessarily changed in the last 10 months, but accelerated. And that's where the important work needs to be done.
From an outside perspective, I can imagine broadly your clients then at least were in sort of three pots. There were those who were already working from home, distributed working a little bit, perhaps, including yourselves, I imagine. Those, in other words, who got it but needed to go further. Those who sort of understood it but hadn't ever done it. And those who are completely resistant, thought whether it's culturally or in terms of business management, it was just anathema to the way they operate. How did you, in terms of your clients and potential clients, how did you navigate those sort of different business approaches?
Sure, yeah, and obviously the I told you so T-shirt people are very happy that they embraced that technology, and we're very happy they did so. And so for those guys, yeah, absolutely, like we've said, pretty much zero effect, at least in terms of technology and the ability to do your job. There are obviously other aspects. I found it incredibly frustrating when we sort of started selling again in, if you like, June, July and August, when people started to come back out, of open the door and actually have a chat, of the number of challenges that people were facing just in basics of doing business. So, the main phone number, who answers those calls and that kind of stuff. And the amount of times I heard, yeah, we just route all of our calls to someone's mobile sat at home and they write down a message and email it to someone. As a sort of a cobbled together Heath Robinson approach to business, and we'd have that conversation and understand that was a challenge, and there are, we'll talk about later, many solutions available, and people just, no, I'm fine as I am. We'll just do that, because I think this kind of panic set in, that everyone just battened down the hatches and refused to do anything. Those companies that have done something, are now thriving and looking forward to the reset that you referred to, that we're referring to. We've tried really hard to be innovative, and I get that customers, potential customers, don't necessarily want to sign up to a 3-year contract, for example, on this new technology that they might only need for 6 months. So we've done very short-term contracts with people. We've allowed pilots of systems. We've invested our own time and money into helping get customers set up on a trial system with no commitment at all from them, just to get them to see that there's a benefit in in this new way of working that we're all used to, because ultimately it's harming their businesses by not doing so. So kind of going that extra mile, putting our money where our mouth is, that kind of stuff, and that's worked with quite a few. But I think we've still got those 3 camps, and there are a lot of businesses out there who have just not dealt with this challenge and aren't very well prepared for what's to come next, which is partly why we're here today.
Yeah, what we're all trying to navigate through is this sort of living in the eternal present and not quite knowing what the near term might be. But I do want you to look ahead from where we are right now at the beginning of Feb. Clearly, as you use the word, it's been a time of seismic change, personally, societally, of course, in business, primarily what we're going to be talking about. How much of this recent revolution in working from home, distributed working, will endure, do you think? What are your base case assumptions?
Sure. Well, I think we used to try and join video calls with people a year or so ago, and I think we've all been there. And most people would join with the video off because they're not comfortable doing video and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, that's changed massively. And I very rarely now does someone join not on video, which is great, whether that's the kitchen table or the office or whatever it is. So that's been really great to see. I think it will depend obviously on industry. So we have some clients who have manufacturing, and you obviously can't do that from home, and certain other roles, of course. But I think certainly what we're seeing out there is that people are now accepting that you need to be able to equip your team, your staff, to be able to work from anywhere and from any device. And for us, that's really not changed. That message hasn't changed in the last 5 years, but that's, I think, what people are now not only realizing but also embracing. Also, I think what we've seen is that your user base, your consumers, if you like, are driving some of the technology decisions, be that the choice of Zoom that we're in today, or other applications. That people have just found a way to communicate, and then they've gone to the business and said, right, well, we're all using Zoom, so let's use Zoom. And then a business is going, okay, fine, everyone's already using that, so that's what we're going to do going forwards. In terms of kind of return to the office, again, it's massively down to each individual industry and organization. For us, there will absolutely be a return to the office, but we're used to working from home as well. So I think it will just be down to any individual's sort of working pattern, marrying that in with their personal life and school runs and all that nativity plays and all that kind of stuff that we like to do, which again is kind of second nature to us. But I think that only comes from executive sponsorship at the top level of business, of having that trust in your team to be able to work from home and just get on with the job that they need to do, but also to reach out to their colleagues when they need help, or when they need to collaborate, or they just need to have a chat over a cup of tea. We'll certainly go on.
Which I was going to say, we will come on to some of those points. I just wanted to take that point and extend it. I mean, the office, of course, is not dead, but it's in something of a deep slumber in many cases, our own included. But technology clearly enables multiple efficiencies, routes to market, means of communicating, democratizes in many ways. Anyone can hop on Zoom, whatever, pretty much, and new efficiencies and opportunities for new business models and approaches. These business surgeries, for example, or even the Bristol Property Symposium. We're using Hopin for that, by the way, as a more, we think, a more sympathetic and useful platform for networking specifically. We wouldn't have countenanced that a few months ago, let alone a couple of years back. And yet, for all of that, what about the human happenstance, the culture of businesses and teams working remotely? How do you seek to advise clients? And perhaps, Nick, also in terms of your business, how sort of cognizant, concerned are you about that, the social glue that office environments create?
Yeah, I mean, for our team, we were a particularly close team, and we socialized a lot. We kind of went for lunches, being very central in Bristol. We were very much into kind of the whole Friday, go for a drink, grab some lunch, teams being disparate, being able to go for a walk around a harbour side, being able to spend some time with each other. And the minute kind of lockdown occurred, then I think there was a bit a feeling of unsettledness from a lot of them, because it was suddenly what had become very close friends within the office. We're all now very spread out, and it was only over a video call. As a business, we kind of tried to take on a real responsibility of people's well-being. So we had one person do their mental health first aid course, so that if anybody was really struggling, initially we had a couple of people who were quite challenged by the whole lockdown process. So we kind of thought it was the best place that actually, if we do it ourselves, then we can advise other people and other companies as they're kind of going through it. Well, this is something we've done. It's not something we sell, but it's something that actually might be benefit to your business. I think by the video collaboration as well, that's kind of been a big, as opposed to a phone call, getting all of us onto a call to begin with, we were all doing a daily call with just kind of a well-being, how is everybody? Then that became a bit too over onerous, effectively. So we do a call on a Monday where people bring 3 positives, and then a Friday is kind of like a nice Friday. We'll do a quiz or a game or something like that, just as a group, as a bit of a laugh, that we can all enjoy and kind of lament the days that we used to be able to go out together. But it's kind of, we're getting there, and yeah, I think everybody's responded well to it. And the team is we probably spend more time talking as a group than we did before. It's just, I think we're all quite looking forward to actually getting together and being able to have a proper night out.
I mean, what's clear from that, and you know, your own thoughtful approach to your own team, is that, of course, technology is that great enabler. It does provide those efficiencies, opportunities, and so on. But it can't and shouldn't and doesn't supplant that sense of human interaction. I want to just pick up a work point which is closely related as opposed to a purely social point. Do you think in any way that creativity and collaboration are diminished by remote working, or potentially enhanced?
I think there's arguments for both. I think when our team of engineers were all together, and kind of 9 of them sit on a big desk and they've got something they need to work through, it's a very easy way for them to just be able to kind of shout across a desk or shout across to somebody else as to viewpoint. So that element is missing. However, I think now if somebody posts something onto one of our feeds, be it a Teams feed or the video feed, then it's answered a lot quicker, because sometimes it's the first person to respond will kind of react. So I think there's pros and cons to both. I think we all missed the whole being able to just have a quick catch up with somebody whilst just grabbing a cup of coffee, because that's when ideas probably come out a bit more. As a management team, we still have a catch up once a month, sales team once a month, and engineers once a week. So we try and keep those teams hubbed together to make sure that we are still being collaborative and still trying to be creative as much as we can.
Let's come back out to clients, and we'll shortly be bringing in Bristol Sport. But I wanted to talk, if you could talk through, insofar as there is a typical journey, and I'm sure they're all bespoke, different, etc., what it is like being a customer, a new customer of Blackstar, from, I don't know, from inquiry to diagnostic, proposal, implementation. What's it like? What happens?
Sure. I should probably take that one, Nick, shouldn't I? So yeah, I think, you know, for us, hopefully people are already gathering that we're quite relaxed about the way we do things. It doesn't mean to say we don't take it seriously, but we likewise don't think everything needs to be overly formal. So our first meeting generally now obviously is on Zoom or Teams or pretty much whatever the client wants to join on, but it's usually one of the two. And it's what we would call a discovery session. So it's not here's all the stuff I've got and here's how much it is. It's right, what do you do as a business? How do you do it? Where are your people located? And really trying to understand also what kind of existing technologies they use. And again, that's obviously really accelerated in the last 10 months, because what we're aiming for is to provide a solution that just sort of fits in or dovetails in nicely with everything else that they're doing. We're also trying to uncover some form of strategy to understand what their strategy is. And if they don't have one, then they're obviously starting to talk about what that technology strategy should look like. I think a lot of people have crystallized their views now on that sort of side of things and moving to the cloud, for example, to make it easier for people to actually be able to access resources that they need to do their job. Whereas, in the past, we were all VPN'd on to servers in the office. People have now realized that that's a very slow way of doing business when you've got all of your employees sat at home. So moving things to the cloud, again, is something that we'd already done. So we don't have those kind of issues. So that kind of proper discovery about what it is they do and how they're doing it before we'll then look more into the requirements. And quite often clients will come in with no real requirement or documentation. They've given it some thought, but they haven't documented it. So we'll try and work with people on what I would call a kind of, a must-have list and a wish list of it must do these things, but we'd quite like it if it did this. But I think, again, in the last 10 months, most people's must-have list has come down to a few very key points of being able to answer the phone on any device from anywhere, join a video call on any device from anywhere. The bit that I think people miss is, whether you're using Zoom or Teams, is that being able to then join, Nick sat in our office, for example, at the moment, being able to join any call from anywhere with anyone. And some people might be using a different technology. So that kind of the office will come back into play. And it's really important that people consider, how will people join meetings like this when they're in the office, when they're at home, wherever. And, those technologies are there, they're commonplace and most people are using them. It's just a matter of kind of trying to take advantage of them. So there's that discovery phase, and and it might be that we need to look into a bit more depth on some technical issues in a second meeting, but typically we're then moving on to some kind of demo or it's a session like we're doing now where we'll do a screen share and show software and show kind of that user experience, the administration experience, and obviously talking a little bit more about the services that we provide. We've, in the last 10 months, done quite a lot of trials and pilots. So again, as I mentioned earlier, no actual commitment to buy, just a trial of the system for a small pilot number of users, which from our point of view is we want people to buy into something that they know is going to do the job for them and not just kind of cross their fingers and hope for the best. So that's gone really well. And then obviously, if the customer wishes to proceed, then we'll agree commercial terms. And over the last 10 months, we've done all kinds of crazy things to make sure that people haven't had to, fork out a lot of cash up front or that short-term commitments, that kind of thing, to just help where we can to get rid of those barriers, because we know that, the businesses that we work in partnership with, they need to do these things to be able to continue doing business and come out the other side, as it were. And we want to just take those barriers away where we can. So then, if we're
come on to from a business point of view, both for yours and also for those listening. That deeper dive, diagnostic, discovery, analytical phase, presumably is quite, or can be quite time intensive. At what point do you start charging? Someone's watching this now thinking, I will share, go through, it's going to take me quite a bit of time commitment, but you certainly. When does charging start?
Yeah, well, I think Kung Fu Panda once said there is no charge for awesomeness, and Nick's a film buff and he'll remember that. So, you've got to put your money where your mouth is, and you've got to invest a bit of your time, right? If you want to win customers' trust, and that's really what we're aiming for. So I think if you just start trying to charge from the outset, then you're not going to get very far, firstly, but also you're starting out in the wrong way. So these first meetings, we don't charge for that kind of stuff, and I think we're really not charging until we get to that kind of implementation and training and project management and that kind of stuff. And with smaller businesses, we're only 16, 17 people at the moment, and there's not going to be a huge charge for that kind of implementation. But we deal with customers who I'm sure you'll mention later who are thousands of users. So obviously there's a different dynamic there. But it is, for us, as I say, it's just about, making sure that our quest is to help these people, these businesses, to still be in business in 2 years' time. And we want to be well remembered for taking the right approach to business. But it's actually not a different approach to business for us. It's what we've been doing for 5 years is that. What we're not going to do, I think you asked Nick, about what we don't do, and we're not going to start, getting into the depths of logging into people's Office 365 tenants and checking on their security credentials. There are other companies, one of which did a surgery not that long ago, who are better placed than us to dig into that kind of thing. So typically it's not the kind of thing that we need to charge for.
Okay, thanks. Let's talk in plants. Let's bring in Mark from Bristol Sport. If Mark can come to camera, as it were. Morning, Mark. How are you?
How you doing? I'm not on mute, which is good. Hi, Greg.
Good. Just I know you're well known, but just to give a quick intro for people who perhaps don't know. We want to be talking about Blackstars' work with Ashton-Gate and Bristol Sport, with Mark, who oversees the operations and management of what will be a 27,000-seater stadium when fans are fully back allowed, whenever that is, and 2 elite training facilities. Also responsible for the commercial, marketing, ticketing, and media operations of Bristol Sport. So it's quite a remit you've got. Before we come on to the Blackstar work, I'd just like to put it in this context. Talk a little bit about the quite extraordinary work that Ashton-Gate's been doing in 2 different phases of the pandemic, with fair share on food distribution, and then more recently on the vaccination program. How has that been logistically for you?
Thanks, Greg, and thanks for having me on today. I think if I reflect a bit like the lads have here, reflect on March, April, May last year. We were talking just before this call started that, you know, all of us, I think the nation thought this would last 2 or 3 weeks at the most, and that was the narrative of the government at the time. And you know, we saw the country starting to lock down, but we were encouraged to sort of carry on as much as business as usual. And as a sport and venue, you know, I had my eye on Cheltenham, saying, well, if they're going to let Cheltenham happen, you know, we'll be all right, because Cheltenham is, we've all been to Cheltenham, and hundreds of thousands of people trying to get a pint of Guinness and watch the horse racing. So I think we were all caught on the hop a little bit. We did plan the flexibility and the ability to work from home, and Blackstar were incremental in that. So, but it was very soft touch planning. I'll come back to your question. So, but we just, I don't think anybody expected when it really hit and sport stopped. So when games on the grass, professionally and grassroots, came to us an absolute stall, I think then we were shocked into making decisions saying, wow, this is pretty intense. But even then we were thinking 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks at the most. And even that was the message from the EFL at the time, and the leagues actually, that it'll be a circuit break for a number of weeks. We have a large venue. You know, we are the biggest venue within Bristol, and we've always been very proud of our stance in the community, to be able to support the community, and also to be a hub every 2 weeks for thousands of season ticket holders to come in, enjoy or not so enjoy depending on result, but to come into the stadium and watch sport. And when you take that away from the community, it leaves a void. It leaves a void in people's lives. You know, the heritage and the legacy of people coming to games week in, week out, for donkey's years, for generations. We shouldn't underestimate that. So we did. So the question was, how do we stay relevant? How can we stay relevant in the community, in people's lives, but also try and do a good thing? And there was a huge amount of goodwill around the time. Do you remember? Everyone was volunteering. There was loads of stuff happening. Everybody just wanted to do something to help, especially, you know, we were all sat at home. And we had this great space. We were contacted by a couple of smaller charities, Homeless in Bristol and others, who had so many volunteers and so many donations that they ran out of space. So we started opening the sports bar in the first instance, just as a storage for Bristol homeless. Then we worked with Elliot and Tess from Box E. They were distributing food. They were getting donations for teenage foster kids, and they were using the South Stand concourse for that. And then Fair Share contacted saying they're getting so many donations from supermarkets and from private business that ran out of space in their Southwest network. Could they perhaps use us as a temporary space? And we gave them the West End concourse, and they stayed in the West End concourse from, I want to say, late March, April, all the way through until the summer when we thought we'd get fans back again. And they did thousands. You know, it was so impressive to see the amount of donations coming through. They did thousands of donations, the donations to people who needed it. We also have the space next door, which is the future for our sports and convention centre arena for 4,000 people. So we have acquired the Wix building and the old Dreams building. The Wix building is still in operation, but the Dreams building is empty. It's been empty for a number of years since Dreams pulled out. And we've gifted that space to Fair Share, and it has become their one of their Southwest hubs, and they're still pumping out. Saw some pallets arrive today. And I've seen a stat where they have, you know, what we've done to support Fair Share has contributed to 2 million meals being spread out across the Southwest, which is incredible that there's a need for it in the first instance. And, you know, we should all be very conscious that there is a need for that. But to be able to support that, we're very, very proud. And all we've done really is just give the venue. You know, they've done all the hard work. All these guys I mentioned done the hard work. We just
Mark, I am sure you are underplaying when you say that all we have done. It's been quite clear. It's had a hugely material, absolutely vital impact throughout Bristol. The work that you and Fair Share, who won the charity award in our Bristol Life Awards, an extraordinary charity, an extraordinary venue, and then sort of changed again to become a vaccination centre. I mean, again, logistically, I mean, what sort of throughput, what type of numbers are you doing?
So they're in the second half week of the vaccine centre in full operation. It's been set up since early December, but they had to wait for the vaccine to get approved and then to go through all of the logistics, the NHS side. So we've provided that space from early December. The armed forces came in and set up, and it's a South Stand concourse for anybody who's been in the stadium. The way the stadium was designed was for multi-use events, you know, so that you may have been to a dinner in that concourse previously, you may have been to an exhibition. The beauty of the South Stand is you can close the shutters and it becomes sterile. So logistically, the armed forces came in and set up a clinic, sterile space. I've said this a few times. If you've ever been in a queue, a Bristol Bears game for a pint of whatever and a pie, those concessions are now pharmacies. So the concessions, all the beer has been taken out of the fridges, and the fridges are now full of the little mini vaccines. And the NHS has set up the pharmacy in each of those concessions. The nurses go, they sign out the vaccines, and then it's so it's incredible to see. In terms of numbers, we just had an update. So there's done 16,000 in the last 2.5 weeks, which is massive. I think the UK are really leading the way in terms of the vaccine numbers. That hasn't touched the sides yet. They're looking to do 12,000 a week over the coming weeks. So they've done 16,000, and a nice statistic from that is, out of those 16,000 vaccines, it saves 103 lives. And what a great statistic that is. And we should be shouting. I don't mean Ashton Gate. Bristol should be shouting about this as a city and be very proud of the fact that we're contributing to such a positive factor to get not just the health and well-being of the country, but also we're here to talk about business. Let's get the wheels of the economy back moving again. Let's get some confidence in business going forward.
Mark, there really is a huge amount, and I don't want to truncate, but we're going to have to. I would perhaps have a different conversation about our health and well-being session we're going to be running, and perhaps explore this more deeply with you then. But if we could park that now, and seriously, awesome congratulations for both aspects of vital work in these times. From us all, I'm sure. Let's come to the business side. You've been working with Blackstar for about 3 years or so. What has been its role in the last 10 months in this time of tumultuous change for you, for everyone? And how has that changed from before in terms of their service provision and understanding of your needs? Yeah, sure.
I think look, Blackstar are, like all of our partners, are partners, and we like, rather than supplier customer relations, we like to have partnerships. We don't like to have huge amounts of suppliers. We just like to have a handful of partnerships, let's call them. And big part of Blackstar is they're local and they're local lads, and it's a local business. So that's very important to the Lansdowne family and to us Bristol Sports. So I think it's important to say that. You know what? Not much has changed, because probably 3 years ago when we all sat in their office with their head of commercial at the time, what was the objective? It was, and football fans, rugby fans, please don't quote me on this, it was customer service. It is, how do we improve customer service? And the customers being the football fans and the rugby fans, we traditionally haven't been great. It was only 4 years ago we were selling tickets and people had to come in and queue outside the stand for 3 or 4 hours, and that was just normal. So, and that was only 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So a big part of our objective with Blackstar is customer service, how we proactively manage our fan experience in terms of engagement and in terms of sales. So that objective hasn't changed. 10 months ago when this happened, it was a very seamless project in some ways. And I don't mean to downplay it from a technical point of view. I'm not technical, so I'm sure it wasn't seamless, gentlemen. But from my point of view, as the operator, we needed to be able to communicate with 20,000 season card holders. Elliot mentioned panic earlier. Every individual one of those season card holders wanted to talk to somebody. An email wasn't good. They wanted to know, was their money safe? Would they get a refund? They just want to have a chat. When's the sport going to come back? What's your opinion? So we have to have telephonics for up to 20,000 season card holders. We also cancelled the concert, 30,000 killers. So these are national, some international clients who were calling. So 20,000 season card holders, 30,000 concert holders, and thousands of meeting and events guests. Nobody wants to do by email, all trying to speak to somebody on the phone to say, what's going to happen? Where's my money? What about my deposit? When's the game going to come back? What about the killers? Are they going to? So thousands of dialogues. And when I say seamless, we managed to close the office on a Friday, and we turned on support services, which is the communication stuff, on Monday from home. So all of our agents, from my view, were seamlessly working from home, and we were engaging with these thousands of fans, clients, and customers.
So you've had this extraordinary shock, which we've all experienced. You've got it on a mass scale, by indication of the numbers you've mentioned, and Blackstar have more than ably supported you through that. What you have learned in these last 10 months from a logistics, technical operations, communications basis, will continue, will endure going forwards?
That's a really good question, and I think there's loads of debates around. You guys mentioned it for the first half of this. What is the future of working? Well, I think if you look at the past of working, we've all been working from home, because I leave work, I take my phone, I take my laptop, and I work from home. So we've had that flexibility by stealth over the last probably 10 or 12 years anyway. We all work from home. I log on a Sunday evening, I work from home. I didn't call it work from home, I just called it catching up. So I think that's going to continue. I think from our point of view, being a flexible employer, being a better employer in the sense of offering flexibility to our employees to work from home, it will be important. I'm sat now in an office that usually has 50 people in. The lights are off, it's dark. We are a people, we're a social business. We sell social, we sell events, we sell people gathering. So it is quite soulless when this office is closed. But I think from our point of view, if I'm looking at recovery, we've done, in terms of our strategy, we've done the reactive, we've done the communications, we're now doing the engagement. So our support service team are working from home, engaging with fans, and then we have to do recovery. From my view, there'll be a hybrid. Some will work from home and some will come in the office, and could be rotating rota, and it'll all depend on people's individual circumstance and desire. Not everybody wants to work from home. Some people do want to come in, but some people may want to work from home. So I think it's just that flexibility as an employer, I think is big and important.
Okay, let's come back to from Blackstars' perspective. For Nick, for Elliot, all clients matter, of course, and you love all your clients, your partners equally, I'm sure. But how did you approach Bristol Sport National Gate's particular needs in 2020? What was different? How did you go about it?
I think because we knew they were such a unique client, and they were probably one of the clients who was hit hardest. I mean, it was literally the doors were closed. Lots of other businesses were able to kind of function from working remotely. If you're an accountant or solicitor, for etc., they just continue. Whereas unfortunately for Mark's business, when the fans stop walking through the gate, it's an enormous impact. So we're very aware of how quickly we needed to respond and react. And obviously because we took the time to understand the business to begin with, and make sure that, Mark had the foresight to kind of believe in everything that we said that he needed to do. So it was very much a partnership that worked, because all the solutions we suggested at the outset, that some clients say, oh no, I don't think I need that one. Because Mark had bought into Blackstar and bought into the whole process, it was just a case of us just having to enable those so that his team were able to pack up, walk out, turn on and be remote.
Good. And Mark, perhaps in closing in this part, if you could perhaps briefly just sum up what Blackstar's role has been in this tumultuous year for you.
Yeah, I think, as I said at the start, it's a partnership, they're Bristol Bears sponsors. And again, this closes the circle on all of our sponsors. You mentioned Thatcher's earlier on. We like the local engagement, and we like to both of us do well out of it. So we are a partner and they're a sponsor. We're also involved in the development of both training grounds, and that the telephonic, the digital, the internet provider, that is the future of performance in the training ground. That's more, so there's a huge amount of pressure on us to deliver there. Honestly, I think as Nick said, this journey started pre-COVID. It's having the ability to flex up and down your business and future-proof your business. So really, it's just a continuation of that relationship, and having the confidence and the trust in your suppliers that actually you can go home on a Friday and sleep easy to know that these guys are going to be crafting behind the scenes. And I'm probably doing them an injustice in terms of how seamless I'm selling it. But that when we look at Monday and we look at the statistics coming through in terms of the numbers, that people are working from home, we shouldn't underestimate that. 6 or 7 support service agents who are able to plug in to their laptop and talk to fans from their kitchen, from their bedroom, wherever. That was untested. If that was a project, you test that for months. We'd all be sitting around drinking coffee, thinking, "How good was that? Could we do better?" It was live. It wasn't. Yeah. So I think it comes down to trust, partner relationships, having the trust and confidence to ensure that I can call Nick or Elliot and say, "That wasn't great. How can we do better?" But not that we did that, but it's just having that that kind of trust. I think that's most important.
Yeah. Well, really good. Thank you, and to you and all Bristol businesses, very, very best wishes for the great reset whenever it truly enacts. And thank you for your contribution today. Thanks. To Nick and Elliot, one sector for you, there's multiple sectors you operate in, you're pretty agnostic, I guess, almost about sectors. This charity, you do quite a bit of work for and people sometimes don't like to talk about their charity work, but this is providing a service. The Royal Voluntary Services, St John's Ambulance, Jessie May. Talk about perhaps briefly what you do, but if there are points of difference between working with charities as distinct from purely commercial businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. You can hear me okay? I've come off mute, haven't I? Yeah. So yeah, St John's Ambulance, for them, they have many employees, but from our point of view, sort of just over 1,000 employees who based all around the country, but in offices, and a contact center or a call center of about 100 agents. And prior to all of this, that was a revenue generating contact center where people call in to book their, their first aid training and donations or whatever they want to do. And all of a sudden overnight, that just stopped. And they had other things they needed to do, and obviously subsequently they've kind of changed the business model to get involved with various other things, training vaccinators, for example, to link into what Mark was talking about. So they had to change that business model a little bit to reflect that, but also they had the challenge that they had 100 people who were the prime revenue generating source for the business who had to now go and work from home. Sadly with these guys, we'd only not long ago taken them on for support and services, so they weren't already set up. So it was one of the clients where we, did we prioritize them over others? Absolutely not. But did some people work quite a bit of overtime to make sure that they were up and running on schedule? Yes. Okay, so we went above and beyond to help those guys because, I think there's an ethical responsibility when working with charities to, like I said at the beginning, really to make sure that you're not trying to profit from it. And we did quite a lot of work for those guys that we didn't charge for, to just get them to where they needed to be. And you can point at your terms and conditions on your support contract and how you should charge for extra things, and then you can look in the mirror and decide, no, we shouldn't be charging for that in these circumstances. So that's very much what we did with those guys. And we're now working with them on kind of the next phase, which is how do we get our technology to where we need it to be for all things coming forward. And we're massively conscious that they have a £20 million hole in their budget for this year. So whilst we can't give it to them for nothing and put ourselves out of business, well, certainly we are doing everything we can to kind of find places where they can save money, but also more importantly, to move to newer technologies to enable them to just save money on their operational costs. So that's something we're really proud of. RVS, the Royal Voluntary Service, I think as Mark referred to, at the beginning of all of this, we'll all remember the call for volunteers that went out and was answered, by the masses and impressively so. The RVS organised all of that. So they went from, again, having a phone system, a call centre that was ticking along with its normal day-to-day stuff, to suddenly having to, more than double the amount of capacity that they had overnight, pretty much, to be able to deal with all of these, people volunteering to help. So again, that was another one where we just said, you know what, these guys, we just need to do anything and everything that's needed to get them to where they need to be as quickly as possible. And some of that was innovative use of technology, and some of it was just good old-fashioned graft. Not sadly from me and Nick, but from our team. And my hat's off to our team, who I know some of which are watching today, for all the efforts that they put in to help these people get to where they need to be. Nick, you might want to talk about Jessie May a little bit. I know that's close to your heart.
That's your sort of charity of choice almost, I gather.
It is. It was. I met a couple of the people from Jessie May 5 years ago, and we got invited to one of their black tie events, and kind of the group of us and partners went, and for quite a stoic bunch. There were a few bottom lip wobbles as they showed a couple of videos of the work they did, which is amazing. So we kind of, Elliot was one of them, I didn't like to name him, but kind of watching the stuff that they do, we thought that that's a really good opportunity to give back locally. So for them, we've done a skydive, we've jumped out of a plane, we provide their phone system, kind of it absolute cost to make sure that they were able, where they have limited budgets, they can prioritize in end-of-life care for children.
Yeah, it's another iteration, and we've all seen this during the pandemic, of companies stepping forward. Whatever your service offering or product offering is, money always matters, but the opportunity to leverage your services to the benefit of charities. We've been trying to highlight that through our Bristol Together campaign. There are so many great stories, and this is one of them. So good for Blackstar. I want to come on to some internal points about Blackstar. The last 10 minutes, it's flown by, about the team, culture, values, and so on. When you are recruiting, you either have been or soon will be recruiting, I'm sure. Which is more important? In fact, which is more teachable, tech skills or business understanding?
I think tech skills are more teachable. We very much recruit on culture and a good cultural fit. I think that we've had interviews who've been technically fantastic, but I just don't think they will buy into what we're trying to achieve. So we do very much recruit on culture and then assume that we can train skills, which we've, touched wood, we've had real success in doing. We've taken on apprentices, and we've seen 2 of our apprentices just develop incredibly over the last 3 years. They've been fantastic, and they've kind of gone from being really unsure of themselves as well as being really confident in what they do and really delivering value to the business. So I think that's kind of the way that we like to try and develop, is to take on people that we can see potential for, and then kind of Blackstarize them, and they'll fit in, and then they'll pick up skills because it's such a collaborative way that we work. They want to learn and they want to be part of it.
So you buy into that. Tends to be a technologist approach, but culture trumps strategy, broadly?
Completely. Yeah, every time.
Okay, we've got a question from Jamie Williams, the Bath office company. It is about offices, and I'm thinking about you particularly. In fact, Jamie might be joining us. Are you joining us? I can see his name coming up. Not sure if the tech is going to allow it, but Jamie, if I just paraphrase your question. In fact, there you are. Jamie, good morning. You're on. It's one of those moments we all.
There we go.
There we go. Well, this is the question about the office lease you had.
Yeah, that's correct. So I'm from a Bath office company. We're kind of rebranding really and looking at changing things for the future. So you mentioned a little bit, obviously, about flexibility being, I guess, one of the key reasons for key decision-making factors when signing a next lease. But I guess what I really want to know is, are there any other factors that might influence that decision? People are going to need offices. My background's from creative agencies and collaboration and creativity. I've seen really suffer over the last kind of 12 months or so. But it's exactly how we use them. So is it flexibility on term or the spaces that you need to use within an office environment? Is there anything else really that you might consider?
So Nick, trying to roll the dice forward, as it were. What will Blackstars offices look like in the future? Will they grow as you grow, or will you use it as a hub and people are working distributedly?
I think, again, without kind of sitting on the fence, it will be a big combination of the two. We'll very much, I'd love to have everybody back in the office, but we've seen some real benefits by people being remote working as well. We've got quite a disparate workforce. So we've got a chap who lives in Cardiff, we've got people who live West Country and kind of further away. So they're saving hours a day travel, which again brings them financial benefits by not having to put fuel in the car or jump on a train. And whilst they enjoy those benefits, they also like coming into the office. So I think our offices would be able to cater for everybody, but understand that it's unlikely that everybody will be in. We're very lucky to be in BS1, and we'd like to stay in kind of a BS1 location because, again, it fuels the cultural thing of everybody being able to go out, grab some lunch together, a couple of beers on a Friday after work type thing. So we're very mindful of keeping the team together socially as well as professionally.
Jamie, thank you for your question. Good luck with your own business activities. Perhaps look out for the Bath Property Symposium as well as the Bristol Property Symposium. Join us for either or both as you fancy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're coming towards the end of this. You sort of touched on this, Elliot, briefly before. You've been evangelists for this approach to work. I think, Elliot, it was a few years back, you sought to persuade me why Media Class should work like this, to no avail. Do you feel that your time has come as a business? You've almost been vindicated by what has happened.
Yeah, it would be easy to be a little pompous at the moment, but absolutely not is the case here. I think, bear with me. the perils of having your device connected to multiple things at the same time, and someone decided they wanted to ring me in the middle of this. So thanks, Mum. So yeah, it's sorry. Remind me of the question again, Greg, because I've been completely put off.
Well, I was going to say, do was this arc of you were evangelizing about this some years back, and now your time has come as a business that you're right at the epicenter of so many businesses. Do you almost feel vindicated by having that more future-proof approach?
Yeah, I don't take any personal glory from anything that we do, and nor does Nick. But I think it's good to see that we've got some customers, and obviously Mark's referred to this, who bought into the partnership and the strategies that we promote, who are now proudly walking around their offices, having or home, having done everything that they needed to do. I think it kind of helps us in our messaging, and I am a sales director and I do want to sell more stuff, so it helps that people have now realized that this is what they need to do in the main, and and businesses are now looking to that that reset and what do we need to do. I just would like to encourage more businesses to think that way, rather than the percentage that currently do, and if I had to tell you, it's probably 50% in terms of the conversations I've had over the last 10 months. So I think it does vindicate, but it just adds value to, these guys are actually singing from the right hymn sheet and we need to buy into that message.
Yeah, I would imagine there's a number of businesses that are having to sort of pedal furiously and not necessarily achieving very much commercially in current times. But it is also a chance to pause, to reflect on this period. This part of it will come to an end, but business will change. So I just wondered, in a nutshell, you've touched on this, but in a nutshell, how can Blackstar help companies on this call?
I think,
yeah, absolutely. So go on, Nick. Sorry, go.
I'll let Elliot wrap up, but I was just going to say, I think because we cater for all clients, big and small, and it's a consultative approach, we genuinely enjoy talking to clients and kind of trying to solve challenges for them. That's kind of our main remit, is to be the problem solvers, to be able to give the technology advice that lets people work from home, to be able to let people jump on a Zoom call wherever they are, be able to join Teams conversations in the most efficient manner that suits them, not us. And that's our difference. It's very much client driven, as opposed to, well, we only offer Zoom, so we're only going to sell you Zoom. Ours is a much more rounded portfolio where we can offer lots of solutions, so it's not one size fits all, and that's our big differentiator against competition.
Perhaps either Nick or Elliot, just give an example of perhaps, if not the most abstruse, but perhaps the most bespoke type of offering you have. We're all pretty familiar with Zoom. We know what the concept of the cloud is, distributed working and so on. What are the more specific iterations which you've been offering?
Yeah, I think we've had some challenges where we've solved the problem for the customers, as you've just outlined, but then our discovery takes us a bit deeper into what other systems are you currently using, and where can we add a bit more benefit there for very little extra cost, and that is typically around things like integration with customer CRM systems, and also I think one of the other ones we've seen that's hit home quite hard is just putting technologies in place that make remote and home users feel part of the overall, and that's typically prevalent in sort of contact center or call center, or just busy customer service environments where we're used to sitting in the office and there's a big screen that tells us what's going on, but actually as a home user you can't see all of that and you can't get a feel for what's going on. So making sure that those agents have the stats and the ability to kind of see the big picture as a business, rather than just their little bit of their job and that's what they do. And nowadays, these things, you can chuck all kinds of business data in there around sales figures or other things you want to do, but also well-being messages and being able to monitor how long someone has been sat at that keyboard, sat at that screen, and being able to say to them, now is the time to take a break. And some of these technologies will allow you to kind of automate that. And as we all know, when we sit in the car sometimes and it tells us we've been driving for too long and we need to go to the services, that kind of capability, which is is available, to be able to monitor to what your people are doing to make sure they just actually take a break occasionally, because sometimes we don't.
Well, talking of taking a break, we will be taking a break very shortly, and this segs into that last question. If you think of the almost as you're saying, what was the tachometer in a lorry to make sure people didn't drive too many miles, then has become more prevalent in car technology. We all have it on our apps, we can monitor our phone usage and so on. That sense of well-being has to be an increasingly important part of a technologist's offering. But I want you to picture paint, either or both of you, about about the business of the future, perhaps if not the office of the future, that it's the nature of technologists, of futurologists such as yourself, to always be positive, optimistic, think there's a better, newer, smarter, cooler way of doing things. What might be different once we're through this period about how businesses operate from a technology point of view? Where would you see the key points?
For me, firstly, I think, sorry, Nick, for me, firstly, I think, in terms of technology decisions, it's really to look at everything as a whole and not just focus on, your mobile renewal or your internet circuit renewal or whatever it is. You need to look at these things as a whole. And ideally, people will end up with one app on their desktop, be that Teams or Zoom or whatever it is that does that communication and collaboration piece for the whole business. Because at the moment there's a lot of companies, and we started out maybe at the beginning with WhatsApp and email and Teams and Zoom, and then you've got 5, 6, 7 different modes of communication, which is completely unproductive and unmanageable. So it's that aiming for that one one app that rules them all from a technology point of view is certainly what we're promoting, and making sure that you have all the connectivity you can eat in terms of internet, right? So let's not have people sit staring at whirling circles and egg timers and all that kind of stuff trying to do their job, and that's, if you like, is our quest, and I'm sure Nick would like to finish off.
Yeah, and I think it's just being driven far more by end user going back to the business now, as opposed to the business dictating, which is really useful, because sometimes you'll get an IT director in situ who's been doing the job for 25, 30 years and has their set values, and that's it, and everybody has to comply. We see now the consumerization of communications being much more that it's being fed back through, which is great, because it means that technology evolves. Yeah. And I think because genuinely we love the shiny, flashy stuff, I certainly do, which annoys a lot of the engineers a lot of the time when I come with a great new idea. What I think is a great new idea is actually just more work. I think because we look and try and see what the future is going to be like for businesses, we really evangelize that for them.
Yeah. Well, again, there's so much to talk about here, but that last point that IT departments and CIOs sort of sedulously guarded the crown jewels of technology. Now it's much more democratized. We're all clear what we need. We've got some inkling of what our businesses require. And I'd hope that the people watching us today and subsequently on YouTube will have had benefit from Blackstar and insight to the culture, the offering, and really the values of why you do what you do. So to both of you from Blackstar Solutions, Nick and Elliot, thank you very much for speaking today. Also thanks to Mark from Ashton Gate, Bristol Sport, both for what you're doing as an organisation, but also your contribution today as a partner of Blackstar. Thank you for your time and observations today. To anyone watching, please look out for our next Bristol Life Business Surgeries with Western College, Devon Britton and Data Sharp. And definitely, please do plan to join us on Feb 12th, if you can, the Bristol Property Symposium. That's just a week on Friday, in case you've also, like me, lost track of time. And of course, thank you for all your support for Bristol Life. Good luck in the coming months as the Great Reset emerges. This has been a Media Clash production, and this has been the latest Bristol Life Business Surgery. Bristol together, always. Thank you.